exactly the. So, what is the point of being a mandatory? So, Mauricio, what's the point of being a mandatory challenger if the incumbent champion can sign fight deals that range for 3 fights that are sanctioned by the body, which just makes the mandatory challenger just sit there like a cab waiting to be summoned because he can't be, because you've got fighters that are signing 2 or 3 fight deals sanctioned by the boxing organizations that make a mandatory challenger almost redundant? I don't see it that way. Unfortunately, there are many uncertainties at this moment which limit what I can comment and what I cannot comment. So the scenario is, as I have just explained, there is a contract for a fight. There is a pandemic that has limited with travel restrictions and with many other different situations. And the WBC is taking this moment. We're waiting to see all the variables to understand exactly where the heavyweight division is.
Mr. Sulaiman, I can tell you, Spencer, Simon, he's been called away. Mm-hmm. Certainly, Simon, that's only you can do. You were asking some very probing questions, mm-hmm. and I wonder if Mr. Sulaiman has decided, right, enough of that, because he's getting me somewhat of a corner here. Listen, I just want to establish the protocol within boxing so we can learn in education, because my question that was going to follow up was, if the event of the fight between Fury and Wilder resulted in Wilder winning that fight, was he going to sanction automatically the mandatory to fight Wilder, or was he going to allow and sanction yet another rematch between Wilder and Fury? And I think that's an interesting question people might have liked to have heard the answer to. So,
those are the words of course, Simon Jordan and Mauricio Sulaiman. And Simon was asking tough questions to Mauricio, and of course Mauricio was Mauricio. You know, he was to a point where he couldn't really he couldn't really answer the question that Simon asked him. And the question was by Simon Jordan, like, okay, when will the mandatory be ordered by the WBC? That's pretty easy question to ask anybody that's supposed to be a damn president of the WBC, of the sanctioning body. And he couldn't answer it, and he hung up. Okay. And it goes back to Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte was in a situation where instead of the WBC doing what they're supposed to do, they let Dillian Whyte sit around. Instead of doing the job, they worried more about a rematch versus a mandatory decision. Okay. Dillian Whyte had earned his shot to be a mandatory. Okay. And this was back in 19. Regardless of how you believe, because some people don't believe he waited 1,000 days. Okay. Because some people believed that Dominique Breazeale was the rightful mandatory for that particular title, which he got his shot against Deontay Wilder and was defeated. He was knocked out in round 1. But Dillian Whyte beat Oscar Rivas, and because of that, he became the next mandatory. Okay, and he was supposed to be the mandatory that fought, and he was going to fight the winner out of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. And the problem was Wilder had a fight with Ortiz, which was a voluntary. Okay, because he just did a mandatory, which is fair by the rules. So Dominique Breazeale, then Ortiz, but then after a first sample of Dillian Whyte, the WBC out of the blue decided to temporarily suspend Dillian Whyte. Okay, when they did that, they gave the position to Tyson Fury as the mandatory. And they did that because they knew that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury was going to fight anyway. See, that fight was already in the books. They were already talking about that particular fight, and Mauricio was aware of that particular fight. And because he was aware of that fight, he did something unjust. He took away the privilege, the right, all the hard work that Dillian White worked for to get in that position, which a lot of people, again, thought that he was already in that position, being the #1 WBC interim champion in the first place. Took that and gave it to Tyson Fury. Now, when Tyson Fury beat Deontay Wilder by an upset, because that was an upset, because a lot of people thought that Fury was going to lose. I thought he was going to get knocked out this time, but he didn't. He beat Deontay Wilder, and he took the WBC belt, and he even agreed that, hey, this particular Dillian White deserves his shot. So he even seen something that Mauricio Sulaiman should have honored. Okay. Now, we know what happened with the arbitration and all that, so we're not going to go through all that. However, fast forward to today, the question was, hey, well, how can you mandate, or how can you not mandate a fighter that's been waiting for a long time, and what's the protocol on what you should do? And he brought up last year. It wasn't the fact of last year, okay? The fact of the matter is, Deontay Wilder in the arbitration, right? If Tyson Fury wasn't going to fight Deontay Wilder, and Deontay Wilder was whatever, recovering, had surgery or whatever, he should have fought Dillian White in the bubble. That's what should have happened. The next fight that Tyson Fury should have fought should have been Dillian White, not Anthony Joshua. And Deontay Wilder, he had the contractual agreement, but if he wasn't fit to fight due to injury, he should have fought Dillian White. But that didn't happen. And then the question that Simon Jordan was asking Mauricio Sulaiman, he couldn't handle, because Mauricio is a bad habit of not talking on certain things that he knows that he can't answer, and he can't answer them because he doesn't want to be responsible for saying something that he knows he's going to only turn around and go against later on. That's what happened. So yeah, he was in the hot seat. Mauricio was in the hot seat, but he should be in the hot seat. Because if you can compare Mauricio Sulaiman to like Paco Bacasel or the guys of the IBF, which he's the WBO president, and other sanctioning bodies, they don't have any problems answering questions. Mauricio is always in the spotlight because Mauricio is always doing some shady stuff. He's always doing something that either benefits the money or the respect of a fighter or boxer, in his case, like Tyson Fury or some other people, that concerns a profit margin versus doing what's good for the actual person in the weight class. Like he makes things up, Bridger weight, franchise champion status. Those type of things were created to do certain things to keep certain fighters away from other fighters, to make sure mandatories don't affect the top fighters. That by itself is 100% absolute BS. Okay. So these are the type of things that Mauricio's doing. And I'm glad someone like Simon Jordan is coming forth and like, yo, what are you doing? What do you plan to do? What is standard? And the man couldn't even say what his standard is or was. That's why he hung up. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Simon Jordan giving Mauricio Sulaiman the business. Therefore, he escaped and hung up. Tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.